Welcome to Thriving Thoughts, a podcast for women who believe in thriving in any and every circumstance. Every week, we have candid conversations with remarkable women about how they silence the little lies in their minds and overcome their shoulds, coulds, and not enoughs with big truths. I'm your host, Dr. Sherri. Now let's thrive. Hey sisters, Dr. Sherri here. Thanks for joining me this week. We are doing a special mid-season episode with just me. Listen, sisters, I want to speak some truth and love and maybe some truth bombs, y'all. I'm not sure. But I want to speak some stuff to you today personally. And so as I sit here at my desk, I'm looking out at the beautiful sunlight. And I'm picturing each of you, and I'm picturing what it is that you need to hear today. And there's something that I need to clear up. So it all happens to do with that word, that word that's in the title of this podcast, thriving thoughts. I think there's a little bit of a misconception about what that means and what I intend that to mean, to have a thriving thought world, to have a life that thrives, to have a life where you're thriving and not just surviving, right? So I'm going to clear that up today for you. So no guest today, you guys, a little bit shorter of an episode, but this is just a little heart-to-heart check-in from me to you. So tune in, listen up, and enjoy. Okay, so let's talk about this word survive, because I hear it a lot, and I hear it in a context that actually means something hopeful or positive or powerful. Like you'll hear people talking about being a breast cancer survivor, for example. And I am, if you guys know me, which by now you've heard enough of me, asking questions of the people I'm interviewing on the podcast, and you've probably checked out some of my own videos on my Facebook page. But I am a big fan of ensuring that the words that we use actually reflect something that is going to manifest beauty and abundance and truth in our lives. So let's just take that word survive. All right. I Googled that, by the way, just this morning. I've got my phone in front of me. It says to continue to live or exist, especially in spite of danger or hardship. So to continue to live or exist in the face of danger or hardship. Well, at first blush, it sounds like a good thing, right? Like I'm going to continue to live and exist. But here's the thing, sisters. I don't want to just live. I don't want to just exist. I don't want to just be. You know what that's like. You know what it's like to wake up and just feel like you're going through the motions, like you're just surviving under the weight of what life has brought you. I think about that word survive, and I think, man, when I say that, you say to somebody, hey, how are you doing? And they say, well, I'm surviving. Well, gosh, that doesn't sound very hopeful, does it? To me, it sounds burdensome. Actually, when I was thinking about the word survive, here's how I would define it. I would define it as a shouldering of something heavy. I would define survive as being tethered to a burden. I would define survive as an absolute blockage of liberation or freedom, because I am forever bound to this thing, this circumstance, this disease, this physical condition, this relationship problem, this financial issue. I'm continually tethered to that, and I am only merely surviving because the rest of it is threatening to drag me under the water, right? And look, I'm not saying that that's not where we are sometimes. We are. I know I'm there sometimes. I have moments where I feel like I'm just surviving. But here's the truth. If I speak that out loud to myself, if I say, Sherri, you are surviving, it does very little to motivate me to get to a place where I can be useful to myself and to others around me. It just keeps me feeling like I'm treading water. And when I'm in that place, you guys, I don't feel useful. I don't feel effective. I don't feel valuable for sure to other people. I just feel like it's all I can do to keep my head afloat. And maybe that's where you're at today. And if that's where you're at today, good. This message, this word is just for you. All right. So listen, if you're tempted to say to yourself today, I am just surviving, or I'm muddling through, or I'm merely existing, let me offer you an alternative. And I can say this as a preface to the alternative, you guys, that the opposite, or the next level, it's not even the opposite, the next level of over surviving is not its opposite. And it is not looking at the world, your circumstances, your relationships, your finances, your living situation. It is not looking at any of that through rose-colored glasses, you guys. So let me just preface that, because I've been accused of being a Pollyanna, and I've said I'll take that all day long. But this is not what that is. So I want to clarify the next level up, which is to thrive. All right, you ready, girls? You ready, ladies, to dive into this next word, thrive? Okay, just like I started out with survive, I'm going to talk about thriving, because I see it everywhere now. I see it in, there's even a makeup line called Thrive, right? There are books about thriving. There are blogs about thriving. There are Facebook groups about thriving, including mine. Hey, by the way, sisters, if you didn't know about that, I have a private closed Facebook group just for women who want to develop a thriving thought world and operate in a sensitive and supportive environment with other sisters like you. Check that out on my Dr. Sherri Facebook page, Thriving Thoughtcasters. Would love for you to check it out and join us. It is an incredible journey. I'm telling you guys, I've met some amazing women in that group. Every woman in that group is amazing, by the way. And guess what? Just because you join the group doesn't mean you need to be Miss Chatty Cathy. You can just sit on the wings and soak up the thriving thoughts that other people are spilling out. So that was just a quick aside for that group if you're looking for another place to be able to thrive. So thrive. I Googled that word. What does it mean? It means, according to Siri or the iPhone here, it means, it's a verb, right? And it says, in parentheses, of a child, animal, or plant. To grow or develop well or vigorously. All right, so I'll just say that one more time. Grow, develop well, or vigorously. So when you think about that, sometimes people say, well, if you just skip surviving and say that you're thriving, like that just means like everything is coming up roses, right? Like there's sunshine and bluebirds and unicorns and puppies and daisies and rainbows and all of these amazing things, and everything in your life must be going so well if you are in a place where you can thrive. And that is an outright, straight from the pit, y'all, lie. Okay? I'm just calling that for what it is. Thriving, developing well, growing, and doing it vigorously. That doesn't sound very joyful, does it? I think about that and I'm like, growing pains. You go back to when you were a kid, or maybe you even have teenagers, young adults right now, and they are experiencing those growing pains. It's actually called ossification. It's where the bones actually break and separate and grow and stretch. It sounds much more painful than it actually is. But, our kids, that's why their legs hurt, right? They're going through this process. But they're growing. They're doing something positive. They're doing something that must be done. They've got to grow taller, right? They're growing into an adulthood. So they experience these growing pains in the process. So thriving is all about growth. It's about, let me just give you some synonyms, you guys. So to bloom or blossom or develop or flourish. I love that one. Flourish. Sometimes I look at myself and, I just say, Sherri, today you are going to flourish. And listen, sisters, that is not always a very exciting thing, because sometimes in my life I face very significant challenges that are fearful, that are uncertain, that just can create a lot of anxiety. But you know what? if I couch it in terms of I'm ready to thrive, I'm ready to flourish, that means I'm ready to grow and I'm open to that opportunity, right? It does not mean that thriving is pain-free. It does not mean that there is not suffering involved in thriving, okay? I just needed to clarify that for you guys because maybe I have not made my message clear about the difference between thriving and surviving. You see, when you're thriving, you're growing, you're moving forward, you're prospering, you're shining, you're succeeding, right? You're pushing forth. When you're surviving, you are just existing. You are not morphing. You are not changing. You are not growing. You are existing. You're barely treading water. In fact, you're trying to hold on to some semblance of the current you. And guess what, you guys? Maybe, just maybe, if we look at those pains and challenges and uncertainties and the vast expanse of what can sometimes seem so hopeless and impossible, if we look at that as not an opportunity to go back, as not an opportunity to just hold on to whatever semblance of sanity or normalcy we feel at the moment. Instead, if we look at that as an opportunity to grow, to bloom, to prosper, to grow and develop vigorously, to thrive, that is where we step out. That is where we step out from this stagnant state of just being and just existing. And that is where we step into the greatness that is designed for each of us. You guys hear the excitement in my voice because I am preaching as much to myself as I am to you. And I'm not even preaching, y'all. I'm encouraging. I am hugging you right now from my very desk. Look, let me just let you in on a little secret, okay? I changed living circumstances in the last 5 days. And I would say that learning about changing my living circumstances and actually doing it occurred within those 5 days. Okay, so this wasn't a move that was planned. It all happened. Things seemed topsy-turvy. And I'm sitting here in a new environment and but I'm looking at the sunshine and things are not optimal. My little puppies are having trouble adjusting. In fact, y'all, I cry every day. Just to let you in on that secret. And I am thriving. I am not surviving. And here's why I'm thriving. Because I'm growing. I'm using this as an opportunity to say, God, use this circumstance to teach me what you have to teach me about me, to bring out of me what I did not even know is there so that this sister who is listening right now can hear it and be encouraged and be inspired that it is possible to thrive in any and every circumstance. Am I the only one that's fired up here today, sisters? I'm sitting here and this is hilarious because like my dogs are literally sleeping on the bed right now, just like sleeping away. They're like, uh-oh, mommy's back at it, doing one of her speeches, as they would probably put it if they could use words. And I am just like, I'm just on fire, you guys, because earlier, like an hour and a half ago, I was like, I got nothing and I need to say something to encourage. And then I realized, wait, yes, I do have something. I do have something to share because I'm going through something. And it's really helped me to clarify why thriving is a good thing. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a pain-free experience, but it does mean that there's growth and blossoming and flourishing on the other side. And that's what I want to do. I don't know about you. I don't want to stay the same. I don't want to stay stagnant. I want to grow and I want to increase and I want to shine and I want to prosper. And all of those things come only through risk and only in the face of challenge. So I want to address one more thing with you today about the secret to thriving wherever, whenever you are. You see, here's what we do. We use our circumstances. Our circumstances. I want you to hear me. We use our circumstances. We use our experiences. We use our relationships. We use world events. We use the events that happen to other women around us to whom we compare ourselves. We use all of those things, and for the sake of brevity, I will just call them all circumstances. We use circumstances to determine our worth. All right? I want you to hear that. We use circumstances to determine our worth. Now, our worth, you guys, our evaluation of ourselves, it cannot It must not ebb and flow with the current of whatever circumstances we find ourselves in. Now, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. So very often what we'll do is when something negative happens in our life, like we pursue it, or we perceive it rather as negative. Maybe we get in an argument with a loved one. Maybe a relationship ends. Maybe you lose a job. Maybe your child is sick. Maybe you're just in such, financial distress you don't know where to turn, or you don't know what's coming next. Sometimes we use those things and we say, we speak those little lies to ourselves. See, I'm just not loved. I'm just not lovable. I'm just not valuable. I'm just not worth it. I'm not worth it enough for good things in my life. And I know I'm not the only one who said those things to myself. I've heard other women say it. Other women say it when they've been on the couch across from me. I've heard them say it. In other places, I've heard my coaching clients say it. These are just things we don't talk about openly, that we actually say these things to ourselves, speak these death arrows to ourselves. But anyway, so that's what we do. I mean, that's kind of a common occurrence, right? Something bad or negative that we perceive as bad or negative happens, and we tend to apply it personally to ourselves, to our worth and our value. Now, did you also know that we do that when good things happen? It's kind of funny. I was thinking about this. Let's say you get a new client, or you sell a new product, or you have some sort of career or business accomplishment, right? What do we do then? Do we not also sometimes use that to evaluate our worth, use our circumstance to evaluate our worth, to determine that, and say, they do love me. I am lovable. People do need me. Yes, that confirms that, right? Hey, listen, y'all, we do it when bad things happen, and we do it when good things happen. And I, frankly, don't think either is correct. You see, our worth and our value, and I'm going to speak this loud and clear, y'all, our worth and our value is not determined by the things that are created. It is determined by the Creator. It is not determined by the circumstances we face. It is determined by your Creator. Do you hear me? So whatever comes my way, whatever comes your way, bad or good, should not sway the needle of our worth one iota. Our worth, our belief in our worth, our belief in our value, our belief in our necessity, our belief in our lovability, our ability to love and to be loved and to be worthy of love. Y'all, that needle should never move in the face of circumstances or events around us. That simply doesn't have anything to do with us. You know what moves that needle? It's when we start to interpret those events as having something to do with us. When we get our minds so big and our egos so swollen that we say, well, their decision must have something to do with me. It must say something about me, good or bad. Wrong, ladies, wrong. When will we get that out of our heads? So I'm going to challenge you a couple of things over the next week. If you experience a success and you're tempted to use that to boost your ego, which is a natural thing, y'all, by the way, I want you to call that into question and just say that doesn't change my worth or my value. That's great. I love it. I love it that I had a nice success, but that does not change my worth or my value of myself. Similarly, if you're going through a hard circumstance or something smacks you right in your face out of the blue, this does not change my worth or my value. I want you to look in the mirror and say that to you. Say that to yourself. Say it to you, like you are talking to you. Say, my worth, my value is determined by the Creator, and not the created, not the created people, not the created things, not the created circumstances. My worth and my value are immovable in the face of any circumstance, good or bad. And ladies, that's the secret to thriving whenever, wherever you are. I love you very much. Thanks for tuning into this special episode, mid-season episode of Thriving Thoughts with Dr. Sherri. Hey, listen, would you do me a favor, friends? Would you go on over to Facebook land and follow me at Dr. Sherri Yoder? The name of the page is actually called just at Dr. Sherri. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. I have a little bit of different content there, and that's at Dr. Sherri Speaks. That at bloop, 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 bloop. There I go with the words. And that's at Dr.Sherri Speaks on Instagram. Hey, check me out there, guys. I'd love to connect with you there. Again, check out that group that I was telling you about on Facebook, Thriving Thoughtcasters. If you are a sister and you know that you are ready to thrive and not just survive, this is the place for you. We have an open seat and open arms waiting for you. So friends, thanks again. And hey, one more thing. I know I'm asking a lot of you. Would you please subscribe and go on to iTunes and click 5 stars and write a review for me? If you're finding this valuable, encouraging, inspiring, and necessary to your ability to thrive, to create a thriving thought world, hey, let's give another sister the opportunity. The more reviews and the more 5-star ratings I get, the more iTunes puts me and this podcast in front of other women like you and me, who we may not ever have the privilege of meeting, but they might be listening in some little flat across the pond, and they need to hear what we're saying. So, hey, subscribe, write me a review, click 5 stars, why don't you? All right, my friends, go and thrive today and survive no more. Love you. Bye. As always, I'm humbled you chose to join me this week for Thriving Thoughts. It's women like you who listen, subscribe, and give us thoughtful reviews that allow our message of thriving in any and every circumstance to reach even more women who need a healthy dose of truth speaking. I'm Dr. Sherri, and I'm grateful to be your Thriving Thoughts host, where we're shifting perspectives and speaking life to you so you can thrive. Be sure to tune in next week and share this episode with a friend. Until then, remember, overcome your little lies with big truths.